The morning sun cast long shadows across the tarmac at Bugram Airfield as General Michael Harrison adjusted his body armor one final time. He had made this journey dozens of times before, flying from the main base to forward operating posts scattered across Afghanistan's dangerous landscape. Today's destination was FOB Lightning, a remote outpost near the Pakistani border where tensions had been escalating for weeks. Harrison's aide, Captain Jennifer Walsh, approached with a clipboard full of final briefings. The general had built his reputation on being hands-on, visiting troops in the field regularly despite the inherent risks. At 52, he was known throughout the military as a leader who never asked his soldiers to go where he wouldn't go himself. "Sir, there's been a slight change to the flight manifest," Walsh reported, scanning her documents. The security clearance office flagged Sergeant Rodriguez for an administrative review. "Nothing serious, just a routine background check update that's overdue. They're requesting he remain on base until it's cleared up." Harrison paused, considering the information. Sergeant Carlos Rodriguez had been his personal security detail leader for 8 months. The man was competent, reliable, and had saved the general's life twice during previous missions. Rodriguez had grown up in the tough neighborhoods of East Los Angeles before joining the Army, and his street-smart instincts combined with military training made him invaluable in hostile territory. "How long will the review take?" Harrison asked, watching ground crews prepare the Black Hawk helicopter for departure. "Could be anywhere from 2 hours to 2 days, sir." "You know how these things go with the bureaucracy," Walsh replied with a slight grimace. "We could delay the mission until Rodriguez is cleared, or we could proceed with Sergeant Thompson as your primary security." Harrison looked across the tarmac where Sergeant David Thompson stood checking equipment. Thompson was younger, perhaps 25, with less combat experience, but solid training. He had served under Rodriguez's supervision for 3 months and showed promise, though he lacked the seasoned edge that came with years of dangerous deployments. The general's mind raced through the implications. FOB Lightning's commander had specifically requested this visit. Morale was low after a recent attack that killed 3 soldiers, and the troops needed to see senior leadership. Delaying could send the wrong message, suggesting that bureaucratic procedures mattered more than supporting the men and women in the field. "We'll proceed with Thompson," Harrison decided. "Rodriguez won't be happy about missing this mission, but orders are orders. Make sure Thompson understands he's now responsible for primary security coordination." Within 30 minutes, the helicopter lifted off with Harrison, Thompson, and a reduced security team aboard. Rodriguez watched from the ground, frustrated but professional in his acceptance of the situation. He had argued briefly with the clearance officer, pointing out that his record was spotless and the timing was terrible, but military bureaucracy moved at its own pace. The flight to FOB Lightning took 47 minutes across rugged mountainous terrain. Harrison used the time to review intelligence reports about recent enemy activity in the region. Taliban forces had increased their presence, and several roadside bombs had been discovered along the main supply routes. The general's visit was intended to boost morale while assessing the tactical situation firsthand. Thompson sat across from Harrison, his eyes constantly scanning the horizon through the helicopter's windows. Despite his relative inexperience, he demonstrated the focused alertness that marked quality security personnel. His equipment was properly arranged, his weapon ready, and his communication gear functioning perfectly. As they approached FOB Lightning, Harrison could see the base's defensive positions carved into the mountainside. Concrete barriers, razor wire, and strategically placed guard towers created overlapping fields of fire. The landing zone was a small cleared area just inside the perimeter, surrounded by blast walls to protect against incoming mortar rounds. The helicopter touched down smoothly, and Harrison's team quickly disembarked. Major Patricia Collins, FOB Lightning's commander, waited with a small welcoming party. She was a West Point graduate in her mid-30s, known for maintaining high standards despite challenging circumstances. Her soldiers respected her combination of tactical competence and genuine concern for their welfare. "General Harrison, welcome to FOB Lightning," Collins said, saluting crisply. "Thank you for making the trip out here, sir. The troops really appreciate senior leadership taking time to visit." Harrison returned the salute and shook hands with the other officers present. Major Collins, I've been looking forward to this visit. Your unit has been performing exceptionally under difficult circumstances. I want to hear directly from your people about what they need to continue their mission. The base tour began immediately. Collins led Harrison through the living quarters, mess facilities, and communication center. The general stopped frequently to speak with individual soldiers, asking about their families, their training, and their observations about local conditions. These conversations provided insights that formal briefings often missed. Thompson maintained position slightly behind, and, to Harrison's right, his eyes continuously moving to assess potential threats. The reduced security team had repositioned to cover key angles, but everyone felt the absence of Rodriguez's experienced leadership. Thompson compensated by staying in constant radio communication with the helicopter crew and base security. The most sensitive part of the visit involved examining the forward observation posts along the base perimeter. These positions offered crucial intelligence about enemy movement, but were also the most vulnerable to attack. Harrison insisted on personally inspecting each position, despite Collins' suggestions that briefings might be sufficient. At the Eastern Observation Post, Corporal Mike Daniels explained recent enemy activity patterns. Taliban fighters had been probing the defenses, testing response times, and looking for weaknesses. Several firefights had occurred in the past 2 weeks, and evidence suggested the enemy was planning a larger attack. "They're getting bolder, sir," Daniels reported. "Yesterday we spotted at least 15 fighters moving through the valley below. They know we can see them, but they don't seem to care anymore. That's usually a bad sign." Harrison studied the terrain through high-powered binoculars. The valley provided multiple concealed approach routes, making defense challenging. He could see why the Taliban found this area attractive for staging attacks. The observation post itself was well-constructed but isolated, making it difficult to reinforce quickly during an assault. "What additional resources would help you maintain security here?" Harrison asked Collins while continuing to scan the surrounding area. "More night vision equipment would be extremely valuable, sir. We're operating with older generation gear that limits our effectiveness in low-light conditions. Also, additional communications equipment to ensure constant contact with all positions simultaneously." Thompson moved closer to the observation post's edge, his attention drawn by movement in the distance. His radio crackled with a transmission from the base's main security center. Intelligence analysts had intercepted radio chatter suggesting possible enemy activity in the area. The timing coincided with Harrison's visit, raising concerns about a planned attack. The general's visit continued despite the heightened alert status. Harrison believed that showing confidence in the base's security would demonstrate leadership while gathering essential intelligence about operational needs. However, the security team remained on edge, knowing that high-value targets like general officers were prime opportunities for enemy propaganda victories. As afternoon approached, Harrison prepared for the most dangerous part of his visit, meeting with local Afghan officials at a nearby village. This diplomatic outreach was crucial for maintaining relationships with tribal leaders, but it required leaving the base's protective perimeter. The mission would test Thompson's abilities and highlight the absence of Rodriguez's seasoned experience. The convoy preparation involved 3 armored vehicles with additional security personnel from FOB Lightning. Harrison would travel in the center vehicle, protected by local troops familiar with the route and current threat levels. Thompson coordinated with base intelligence to ensure all available information about enemy positions had been integrated into the mission planning. Collins expressed private concerns about the village meeting's timing, given recent intelligence reports. However, the Afghan officials had specifically requested the meeting, and canceling would damage carefully built relationships. Harrison decided to proceed, trusting in his security team's capabilities and the base's preparation efforts. The convoy departed FOB Lightning at 1,400 hours, following a route that had been swept for improvised explosive devices earlier that morning. Thompson maintained radio contact with the base while monitoring the surrounding terrain for potential threats. The landscape offered numerous hiding spots for enemy fighters, making constant vigilance essential. 10 minutes into the journey, the lead vehicle's driver noticed unusual activity ahead. Several civilians were walking along the road in a direction opposite to normal traffic patterns. This behavior often indicated advance warning of an impending attack, as local residents sought to avoid becoming casualties in crossfire situations. Thompson immediately relayed this observation to all vehicles in the convoy. The security team increased their alert status while continuing toward the village meeting point. Harrison remained focused on the diplomatic mission while trusting his security personnel to manage tactical considerations. As they approached the village outskirts, Thompson's radio intercepted a transmission that would change everything about this routine visit.